What's going on? Good morning, good morning, good morning. What's going on? I hope everybody's doing well. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. Now, I wanted to, it's going to seem so weird that I keep coming back to this issue, but there was a lot of conversation about what happened at this Travis Scott concert called Astroworld. And if you haven't followed it, I assume you have. Astroworld was this big, hip hop event that was completely sold out. A lot of people were there, and I've talked about it a couple of times already. And the reason I keep talking about it is because I just tend to talk about things that are just on my mind. I just kind of follow my passion. I can't help it. It's just if I'm passionate about something, I got to keep drilling into the issue. And so, anyway, so with Astro World, in case you didn't know, just a quick recap, and I'll tell you what my insight was. Basically, some people got killed. I want to say it's 8 or 9 now. People are still injured, and there's tons of people that are filing just a gang of lawsuits. The lawsuits are going to be well over $1 billion by the time it's all done. Like Travis Scott and everybody, their whole crew has a good reason to be deeply concerned about the results of these lawsuits. So the big question for me was always, okay, how much responsibility does Travis Scott bear, in all of this? What about Live Nation? What about the security? What about the venue? Who's to blame, right? And so I thought about it, and I did research, and I was just watching video after video after video, and I remember just kind of thinking, man, this brother is gonna have some problems because the media is really making this like it's a Travis Scott thing, almost like Travis Scott organized the whole concert by himself. He did everything all alone. He had no he had no help. There was nobody else doing anything except Travis Scott. And honestly, I think that's a little bit of media scapegoating. Not that I sit around and I feel sorry for people like Travis Scott. He's hanging out with the Kardashians. He ain't got nothing to do with me in that way. But at the same time, I've seen this before. Remember, hip hop kills a lot of people. Not all hip hop, not Kendrick Lamar hip hop, not J. Cole hip hop, not D1 hip hop, but toxic hip hop kills a lot of Black people every year. 200 rappers died this year. But for some reason, when 8 college students go down, it's like, oh my God, this is out of control, right? So here's the thing, right? Now, somebody says, I know he had insurance, but insurance doesn't cover everything. Insurance, there's some stuff that's not insurable. There's some areas where the insurance company says, we get off the bus here. So insurance doesn't protect you from everything and anything. There are clauses that basically say if you are negligent in any particular way, we will not cover you. So just be clear that insurance, that don't mean you can just do whatever you want. So that's what they call a moral hazard problem. They design insurance to avoid moral hazard, which means that they design it so that you don't have an incentive to say, well, since I got insurance, I don't care, man. I got car insurance. I'm gonna leave my doors unlocked. I'm gonna, just drop my car off in a bad neighborhood and hope somebody steals it. Now you can't do all that. So anyway, with that said, hit the thumbs up button. By the way, hit the thumbs up button if you haven't done it yet. So here's what my conclusion is. Travis Scott, while he certainly has this history of inciting, riots, basically, like you got that poor kid in 2017 to go jump off a balcony and the kid got paralyzed for life. Obviously, you shouldn't jump off buildings because rappers tell you to. But at the same time, if the kid's like 17 years old, there's a belief that if I persuade a young person to do something, I do have some responsibility if they're listening to me, right? So you can't just say it's all on him. But at the same time, don't go jumping off buildings because rappers tell you to do it. Like that's kind of weird. So he does have a history of inciting, some craziness at his concerts. But to me, that wasn't what caused this tragedy. I watched a bunch of videos about it, and I got this conclusion that basically a lot of the things related to the design of the stage led to the death. And after sort of looking at stage design and who had the authority to stop the show when it got out of hand and all these other things, I concluded that it wasn't Travis Scott who's responsible for this. I think it's Live Nation. Live Nation. And their CEO, it's called Mike. His name's Michael Rapino. Michael, I think so. He's some white guy in Canada. And what's interesting is that throughout this whole situation, you've seen Travis Scott's name everywhere in the media, but you have not seen Michael Rapino in the media. And to those who made that point, I give them a shout out. I read a brother's article earlier about that, where he, talked about that, and I do agree with that. Now, is it Live Nation alone? I don't know if you can say Live Nation, period. Like everybody else can walk away. But Live Nation is probably going to have to pay. I can imagine paying at least $1 billion in settlements, probably maybe more, maybe 2 billion. But now Live Nation is a $25 billion company, so maybe they can withstand that type of financial hit. But it's going to be big for Live Nation, and basically Live Nation is responsible for the whole Astroworld fiasco, in my view, for three reasons. One, they were the ones who oversold the concert. If they had sold, they sold 50,000 tickets, and that was double the number of attendees from a year ago. So, or 2 years ago. They didn't do it last year because of the pandemic, but they sold 50,000 tickets. They could have sold 40,000, right? So this was an example where corporate greed got in the way of safety, right? So they oversold the tickets. So that's the one thing. So they sold, a ton of people to the right to come into this death trap, where basically they're going to be locked in. And that gets to the next point, where Live Nation, either Live Nation or NRG Stadium, whoever designed that stage, is responsible. If you look at somebody explained the stage design, and part of it was designed like a T, where there was an area that nobody wanted to be in, this area out front. So people were pushing in. They were coming into the sides. And what happened was, and from what I've gathered, again, this is what I'm just sort of picking up, is that if you were inside, like imagine the letter T, and you got barriers behind you that do not collapse, where you can't go out the barrier, you can't go out the back, you're just going to get pushed into the back of the barrier. From what I understand, a lot of people just got crunched, right? Because people were kept piling in and piling in and piling in because they kept rushing the stage. And that led to people literally getting suffocated and dying. There was one poor girl who talked about people stepping on her face. She had a shoe print on her face. I said, damn, that's crazy. If that was my daughter, I would get straight to whooping ass. And so that's the second thing, right? The design of the stage. Live Nation is responsible for that, right? The third area is who had the authority to stop the show. When the show got out of hand, and there were people saying, stop the show, right? They were chanting that. Like, these are people that paid money to see Travis Scott, but they're literally begging Travis to stop the show. That's a big deal. That's a big deal when the people that love you the most are saying, hey, man, we can't do this no more. Like, seriously, like a woman who loves you, who says, stop, we can't keep having sex right now. Like, that means you're hurting her, right? Because she loves you. She wouldn't say it if there wasn't a good reason for it, right? So these people that love Travis Scott were saying, look, this is hurting us. This is not cool. This is painful. Let this, end this. And some people felt like, okay, why didn't Travis go ahead and stop the show? Well, there were only two people that had the authority to stop the show, and that was the executive director, or excuse me, I would say executive producers and the festival director. The festival director and the executive producers were the only ones who had the authority to stop the show once it got out of hand. So you can't put that on Travis Scott. You can't say, well, why didn't you stop the show? Well, because people made a good point. If he stopped the show without proper authority, they could then come back and say, well, we're not going to pay you because you stopped the show and we lost money. So therefore you don't get paid, right? So you can't say Travis should have stopped the show. If nobody told him to stop it, then he wasn't going to stop it. Remember, so three key areas. Live Nation. So you sold the tickets for people to come into the death trap. Two, you were responsible for designing the death trap, which was the stage area that people got crunched in. Three, you had the authority to stop the show when it got out of hand. You did not use that authority because you wanted to keep making that bread, and you thought that maybe a couple people getting CPR wasn't a big deal. But there were lots of people who saw it getting out of hand at that point. So that's my conclusion on this so far, based on the information I've seen so far. And don't ask me why I keep talking about Travis Scott and Astroworld. I just really thought it's really interesting to watch. And also, you guys know I talked about hip hop for years. I've really been very, very outspoken about what's going on with hip hop and how hip hop music has been used to create kind of a death march in Black communities for about 20 years now, where they have literally convinced Black people to call ourselves the N-word on every available opportunity. Even though you get mad when white people do it, but for some reason when we do it to each other, it's totally cool. Disrespect women at every available turn, which has caused tremendous harm to the Black family. A lot of men are like, well, why would you get? When I got married, a lot of guys are like, why would you get married? Like, they got hoes everywhere. These hoes are everywhere. And I'm like, well, no, Black women aren't just. I mean, maybe some of people are hoes, but they're quality people, and building a family does actually matter. Like, why do you think it's all about chasing the hoes, right? Well, because music has taught you that this is the lifestyle that a man should want to live. It's been toxic in terms of telling Black people or convincing people to give their money away because you're imitating the rappers who are living very unhealthy lifestyles. That's why rappers die so young. That's why 200 rappers died last year. 200. That's a big number. Also, remember, a lot of the OG rappers who started this stuff back in the 90s, started the gangster stuff, they're dying. They die in their 40s and 50s. DMX shouldn't have died at the age that he died. It's because there's a certain lifestyle and a certain culture that comes in with the music, right? And then you can keep going in terms of talking about celebrating the violence, celebrating the genocide for Black people. And if you don't agree with me, honestly, I'm gonna tell you the truth. I'm gonna hear you. If you say, well, you just hating Doc or whatever, I'm gonna listen. But the truth is, I've heard this for 20 years. I've heard this as I've watched the community fall apart. I've heard people say this as I've seen young people dying from drug overdoses. You can't market drugs on TV. You can't run a commercial for OxyContin or for Molly's or Percocets. You can't do that. That's illegal. But hip hop music allows you to market things that are illegal to market because they are so harmful to young people. So, and the thing is, it's a more persuasive form of marketing. See, remember, I'm a business school professor, so I understand how marketing works. Marketing in hip hop is incredibly persuasive. Hip hop artists they were social media influencers before there was social media. Back in the 1980s, Russell Simmons was his brother Run from Run DMC had made a song called My Adidas, and they would wear Adidas sweatsuits and Adidas shoes, right? Well, Adidas sales went way up because Run DMC was wearing Adidas all the time. And so in order to get Adidas to pay Run DMC to market the Adidas product, he brought some Adidas executives to a Run DMC concert. And he told his brother Run, he said, during the concert, I want you to tell everybody, hold your one Adidas sneaker in the air, grab one sneaker and hold it in the air to show you got your Adidas. And he asked them to do that. Thousands of people held their Adidas sneaker in the air because they had all went out and bought Adidas because Run DMC told them to buy Adidas. So the same way Run DMC could boost the sales of Adidas by marketing Adidas, rappers like The Future can boost the sale of Molly and Percocet because he's got a song with the chorus, Molly Percocet, Molly Percocet, Molly Percocet, right? And the problem with that as well is just like Run DMC, that you're marketing this to young people. Now, marketing Adidas, that's not so bad. I mean, you're wasting your money, but at least you're getting a shoe for it. When you market things like Molly Percocet or drugs and alcohol, or those are things that sometimes don't go away. You get brain damage from drug use that doesn't ever go away. You become a drug addict when you're 18 years old. You end up like DMX when you're 40. DMX started smoking crack when he was in his teens, and he continued to smoke crack for the rest of his life. So sometimes with these children, you open a Pandora's box that they can't ever close. When you are a 21-year-old drug addict, a lot of people never ever come back from that. So just understand that they are killing your future. They're killing your whole community when you allow them to mass market everything that's killing Black people and to get you to be happy about it. Right. And I haven't even talked about, the celebration of homicide, the glorification of the drug dealing culture. Right. And all this stuff. Right. So ultimately, hip hop has been killing Black people for a long time. And what made me really intrigued with the Travis Scott thing was it's like, wow, now suddenly they're wondering, they're talking about how deadly hip hop can be and all this other stuff. And it took a bunch of college kids to die before they were like, oh, this is bad. This is not good. But when you were dying, nobody cared. When your whole hood is devastated, nobody cared about any of that. People, in Chicago, they got the drill music that they again, these white corporations are promoting this, the drill music, where literally somebody make a song about you and you live 2 blocks over, they'll come to your house and shoot you like with a machine gun, like kill you. Like, this is not a game. This is not a joke. This is real. This is really happening. So, it is, as much as my heart goes out to the people that died and were hurt at Astroworld. I don't understand how you could be sad about Astroworld and not be sad about what's happening in your own hoods. I just don't get that. And I don't understand how why some of us don't understand that you can love hip hop music and still challenge some of the horrible imagery the corporations are mass promoting as if that's okay. There's nothing okay about any of this. You know, there's nothing okay about having a million illiterate black men in your community. There's nothing okay about having, black men and black women, getting hooked on drugs and whatever. There's nothing okay about being trained to give all your money away to Gucci and Louis and all this other stuff. There's nothing okay about listening to ignorant people above your scholars and your thinkers and your people in the community that want to actually make the community better, right? And so a lot of those voices get drowned out because the ignorant voices have been elevated and propped up, and they do that to you intentionally. Why do you think during the election, when you had a little bit of black intelligence sneak in? Remember Charlemagne? Remember when Charlemagne the guy interviewed Joe Biden? He got all pissed off because he was asking Biden really hard questions about the black community, and then he asked Obama hard questions about the black community, and he didn't want to answer those either. Well, that was because Charlemagne had actually talked to people like me and said, what questions do you think I should ask, or what issues do you think we should pursue? So he brought that into the Joe Biden interview. Joe Biden didn't talk to people that actually think. He doesn't want to talk to the black thinkers. What he did was he then went over and interviewed with Cardi B, right? Who maybe she has a couple of criminal charges over her head. She's not going to get out of line. She's definitely not going to go to war with the government, right? Especially when she's literally facing criminal charges, right? Or she's literally confessed to Bill Cosby-like activity, right? Drugging and raping people and all this other stuff, right? So then Cardi gives him exactly what he wants to hear. She speaks exactly what the company line is supposed to be. So this is this is something that's consistently happening around within hip hop. And somebody said, who paid Boyce to over intellectualism this subject? No, there's no such thing as over intellectualism. See, that's another comment that I'm going to actually address for a second, because the reason you think being intelligent is a problem is because you were taught that being black means you're supposed to be fucking retarded. You were taught that being black means you're supposed to be ignorant at all available opportunities. You were taught that being black means you're supposed to be like that, yeah, girl. You really like this. Seriously, that's why you think I'm over intellectualizing the issue. But you don't understand. You don't understand. They intellectualized the living shit out of how they were going to oppress your raggedy dumbass. Seriously, they thought very carefully about how they were going to design systematic racism to keep you in the trap as long as possible. They were extremely thoughtful. They got their best scholars on the job when it came to saying, how do we manipulate black people for hundreds of years and destroy their families and ruin their whole community and then take all their money at the same time? They were thinking, they were playing chess. And see, and when your ass shows up and you playing checkers, you don't understand why you keep losing the game. So that's one thing I just want to tell you is anybody who runs around here telling y'all that being intelligent, well, that ain't being black, that's being uppity. I had somebody, a very prominent person online, said that I was being arrogant by saying I wanted black people to be intelligent. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? We were the original man. Do you understand? In ancient Egypt and ancient Kemet, we were doing things in mathematics and astronomy and science that white people weren't going to be able to do for 500 years. Do you understand that that's who we are? We are the original intellects, goddammit. So don't tell me that somehow me being in me intellectualizing something is somehow me not keeping it real. I ain't keeping it real. No, you keeping it raggedy. You keeping it raggedy. So we do kings and queens up in here. We don't do that court jester nonsense. We are not second rate. We are not sitting here licking a white man's toes. We're not sitting here going along with the okie doke. We're trying to actually solve a goddamn problem. So, and if people are not ready for that, that's okay. Just go back to kindergarten, go back to the first graders, go to the little children's table, because this is for grown folks. This is for people that really want to figure out what's going on. So what I will say to you at the end of the day is that I will tell you this: the more I study this issue, the more I am firmly convinced that hip hop was weaponized to destroy black people. I really believe that united black families. I believe that black empowerment. I believe that they got to the point where they realized that black intellectualism was incredibly dangerous. So they said, let's take the thing that inspires them and influences them the most, and let's absolutely poison it. Let's poison it so that they will eat the poison and think that they're eating healthy food. Right? Let's take this music that influences their children. Because the most valuable thing, see, they steal your money, But that's not the most valuable thing they've stolen from you. They've stolen your money. They steal, trillions of dollars from you on a regular basis, right? They steal it from you in terms of bad consumption patterns, getting you all to go believe that you're supposed to grow up and work for white people. They steal it in terms of keeping your families divided so you can't even start businesses and build the wealth that you're supposed to build. Like they already take your financial wealth, but they take something much more valuable than that. The most valuable thing that they steal from you is your children. They steal your children. Not just from, aborting as many black babies as they can. That's why they got the Planned Parenthood clinics set up in the hood. They do this in Africa too, by the way. In South Africa, they market abortions everywhere in black neighborhoods. They don't market them in white neighborhoods. They market them in black neighborhoods because they want population control. But on top of that, they take your children away because they miseducate them in the public school system, and then they miseducate them through the music. So ultimately, when they steal your children, when they take your son who could have been, doctor, lawyer, rocket scientist, billionaire entrepreneur, and they make him think he's supposed to just be a gun-toting thug with diamonds in his mouth, speaking broken English and hating women and disrespecting himself and staying high all the time. Well, they pretty much killed one of your soldiers. You don't understand that that's a tactic that's been used in war since forever. Let me give you an example. I remember hearing about a drug that they created during World War II, and I don't know if it worked or not, but I swear to God, this drug was something they were going to fly over your troops with an airplane and spray the drug the way they spray and the way that you dust crops, right? And allegedly, look it up, it's out there. They were going to make the troops turn gay. I kid you not. They literally somehow in this drug, I remember reading this and I was blown away. I don't know if it actually worked or not. I got to go research that. But I remember they literally wanted to create a drug where they would spray it on your troops and they would start wanting to fuck each other, right? Because they're sitting around having sex with each other, they're not going to be ready to fight. They're not going to fight because they're going to be thinking about trying to get some ass from the soldier next to them, right? Literally, I didn't know. This blew my mind, right? So when you talk about the elimination of the black male in particular, making sure he is as uncompetitive as possible. You've got to understand that they pull every single trick in the book to make sure that happens. Just like during apartheid. In apartheid, the biggest thing that they worked hard to avoid is the idea of an intelligent and aggressive black male, right? Especially a black male who was intelligent, aggressive, and weaponized and strategic. So if they even had a hunch that if your son disappeared for say 6 months, and they thought your son might have left the country to go get military training, they might come lock the whole family up. They would literally come looking for your son. Like, where is your son? Why is he not in your house? Right. So ultimately, that desire to control black people is something that's happened all throughout history. It's happened going all the way back to slavery. So you can't tell me you don't understand that they're doing the exact same thing right now. That's exactly what they're doing right now. They're trying their best to eliminate your soldiers and kill them. That's why I went to a Denver Nuggets game last night and I saw this picture of Big Frida. I don't know much. All I know is there's something about Big Frida I don't know if Big Frida's a dude or I don't know. I don't get into all that, but I saw Big Frida being just mass marketed, and honestly, I just saw a damn minstrel show, because I can go right down the street to. I actually on the way to the Denver Nuggets game, I passed by the University of Colorado, Denver, or Denver, Colorado University of Denver, Denver University. I forgot which one. And they had a list of they had pictures of all their professors that have won awards at that school, like literally about maybe 70 of them. Not one single professor was black. Not one single professor on that picture was black. But then I get to the Nuggets game. First time I see a black person being celebrated was either A, the athletes on the court, or B, Big Frida up on the gigantic screen, right? They don't want a lot of Boyce Watkinses. They want more Big Fridas. That's just what it is, because Big Frida ain't never going to really be a threat to white supremacy on any level, right? That's a minstrel show. So anyway, let me ask a couple more questions. Dr. Boyce, thank you for your donation. Yeah, I appreciate that. What do you think about Saitama? I got it in a few months ago because of Willie D, and I'm killing it right now. I have no idea what Saitama is, so I'm sorry. If it's something financial or something like that, We do stock market investing class every Tuesday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern. So if you're on Instagram, the link is in the bio. So you can, and my students, they actually can send me questions in advance, and I'll look it up and I'll give you my opinion based on my research, but I don't know what that is. So anyway, all right, guys, so I'm about to get out of here. Please have a good day. My Instagram is The Real Boyce Watkins if you want to follow me on Instagram. Also, please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe button if you haven't done it yet. And I know we started talking about Travis Scott and Astroworld, but you guys know, I think that really analyzing something like that requires you to see it in context. You got to see it in context in terms of just how hip hop, unfortunately, was used as a method to control the Black community. And it wasn't originally designed that way, but it's become that sort of thing. And I think that they're still doing that to this day. I don't think that that's changed. So if you want to understand what's really going on, don't look at the puppet, look at the puppet master. So when I look at what Travis Scott does, or what, a Lizzo does, or what a Lil Nas X does, I'm not just looking at Lil Nas X or Lizzo or Travis Scott. I'm looking at the corporation that pays Lizzo, Lil Nas X, and Travis Scott. It's the corporations, it's the systems that design the outcomes, not the individuals who are controlled by those systems. So anyway, guys, I'm about to get out of here. Please have a good day. Hit the thumbs up button on your way out, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care. Love you. Peace.